They sent the cops to my property 3 times. Each time, they claimed I was breaking HOA rules. Even though I wasn't part of their stupid HOA. They harassed me, tried to bully me, and even trespassed on my land. But what they didn't expect. I'd fight back, and when the truth came out in court, let's just say they were the ones who ended up paying. Hey everyone, welcome back to another unbelievable real-life story where karma hits harder than a hammer in a courtroom. This is the story of how a stubborn HOA tried to control something they didn't even own, and learned a very expensive lesson when I stood my ground. So grab a drink, get comfy, because this one's got it all: entitled people, legal drama, and sweet, sweet justice. My name's Ethan, and for most of my life, I've dreamed of owning a quiet cabin by the lake. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere far from city noise, HOA meetings, and nosy neighbors. After years of saving, I finally found it, a little wooden cabin tucked between pine trees, right on the edge of Clearwater Lake. No fancy roads, no gated communities, just pure nature. The best part? The property was outside the HOA boundary. That was actually one of the reasons I bought it. The listing even said in bold letters, "No HOA, no restrictions, private lake access." I couldn't have been happier. For the first few weeks, it was heaven. I'd wake up to birds chirping, spend my afternoons fishing, and sit on the porch watching sunsets melt into the water. But then, peace met chaos. It all started one Saturday morning. I was grilling some fish when I noticed 2 SUVs pull into my gravel driveway. A man and a woman stepped out, dressed like they were on a corporate mission. Polos with the HOA logo, clipboards in hand, and serious faces. "Good morning," I said politely. "Can I help you?" The woman smiled in that fake nice way. "Hi there. We're from the Clearwater Shores HOA. We noticed some unauthorized construction happening on this property." I frowned. "You've got the wrong place. I'm not part of the HOA." Her smile vanished. "Sir, all properties around this lake fall under our community association." "No, they don't," I said, pulling out my property deed from the cabin. "This cabin isn't inside your development. It's older than your subdivision." The man squinted at the document. "Well, even if that's true, you still have to comply with community regulations. The HOA maintains this lake." I couldn't help but laugh. "You maintain your side of the lake. This here," I pointed to the water, "belongs to me." They didn't like that. The woman scribbled something on her clipboard and said, "You'll be hearing from us." And they left. A week later, I came home from town to see a police car parked in my driveway. The officer told me someone reported illegal shoreline work. Apparently, the HOA claimed I was dredging the lake without permission. Except, I was just cleaning out fallen branches and trash that had washed up. The officer checked everything out and said, "Sir, looks fine to me." They probably wasted our time. I thought that'd be the end of it. But no, that was just the beginning. The second time, the HOA accused me of operating an unlicensed short-term rental. I wasn't renting anything out. I lived there full-time. The same officers showed up, apologized, and left. Then came the third time. They claimed I had unauthorized structures because I built a small wooden dock for my fishing boat. Again, the cops showed up, looked around, and said, "Sir, we're really sorry about this." That's when I realized the HOA wasn't just being nosy. They were trying to push me out. I started digging into the HOA's background. Turns out, Clearwater Shores was a new development built 5 years ago, after my cabin had already existed for over 30 years. My property wasn't included in their original charter or their deed restrictions. But the new HOA president, a guy named Gregory, wanted to expand their jurisdiction around the lake. And that included my side. He even sent me a letter demanding I start paying HOA dues. It said, "All lakefront homeowners are required to contribute to the Community Upkeep Fund. Failure to pay may result in legal action." That was the last straw. I contacted my attorney, an old friend named Linda, and we started gathering everything: the harassment reports, police logs, photos, and the property records. Linda told me, "Ethan, they've crossed a line. They're impersonating authority they don't have and using law enforcement to harass you. Let's take them to court." And that's exactly what we did. When the hearing day came, the HOA board members walked in looking smug. They clearly thought they were going to scare me into submission. But they weren't ready for Linda. She stood up, calm but fierce, and laid out every piece of evidence. White heavy checkmark proof that my property deed predates the HOA's founding by decades. White heavy checkmark police records showing 3 false reports made by the HOA. White heavy checkmark letters from neighbors and even the town's zoning department confirming I was outside the HOA boundary. Then came the kicker. Linda presented a map of the lake, showing the clear dividing line between private and HOA-managed property. And guess what? My entire land and shoreline were outside their boundary. The judge leaned forward. "So, the HOA knowingly sent law enforcement to private property that wasn't under their authority?" Linda nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Repeatedly. The judge turned to Gregory, the HOA president. "Sir, do you have any legal basis for your actions?" Gregory tried to argue that all lake residents benefit from the HOA's maintenance, so everyone should follow their rules. The judge's face went cold. "That's not how property law works. You have no jurisdiction here, and you've wasted taxpayer resources." When the ruling came down, it was glorious. The HOA was found guilty of harassment, filing false reports, and attempting to unlawfully collect dues. They were ordered to pay $75,000 in damages, plus my legal fees. Gregory's personal insurance didn't cover the mess he created, and the HOA had to raise member dues to pay the fine. You can imagine how well that went over with the rest of the residents. After the case, I went back to my cabin and sat by the lake, finally at peace. No more random inspections. No more fake citations. Just quiet mornings, fresh air, and water so calm it looked like glass. A few months later, a former HOA member reached out to thank me. Apparently, after the lawsuit, Gregory was voted out, and several board members resigned in shame. The new HOA board sent me a formal apology letter. They even offered to extend friendly cooperation for shared lake stewardship. I framed that letter and hung it on my wall, right next to my court judgment. Now, every time I walk by, I smile. Because it's a reminder, bullies lose when you know your rights. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Don't let anyone trick you into thinking they have power over what's yours. HOAs can't just make up rules and claim land that isn't theirs. They thrive on intimidation, until someone stands up and says, "No," and when you fight back with truth and evidence, even the loudest HOA can't win. So if you ever find yourself dealing with people like Gregory, stay calm, document everything, and don't be afraid to stand your ground. Because sometimes, justice doesn't just knock. It walks right into court and makes them pay. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real-life stories where the underdog wins big. And remember, power doesn't come from a title. It comes from knowing your worth.